This looks great. And I get to drive this number one. Number one. Make it show. Whoa! This seat's low. How did you like the Miata?
Very fun.
It's too many Volvo. Not enough Jensen.
They're simply not installed. Fire right out.
I kind of hope it blows the cover off.
That ain't too loud. Right now.
What?
It's not very loud. What have I continued to do? My oil cap came off while I was driving. And you know how I found out? Because my windshield was getting oil on it. You know how my windshield gets oil? Where it sprays up so much that it runs down to the front while driving 60 miles an hour. And then does this. This magic number right here. Oh, that's just a special kind of precious.
We show up in the party, fire than everybody. We show up in the party. We show up in the party. We show up in the party.
Pre-detonation / pinging issues. The issue was happening right when the engine was getting really warmed up. So for the first 10 miles, it was mint. And then as soon as we would pick up the kiddo from school or go out for ice cream or whatever it is on the way back, it would start pinging a lot. And it would do it first only going uphill. And then I was like, I don't know if that's pinging or maybe my exhaust is rattling. I tightened up the exhaust and then I drove it again and I was like, I think it's gone. I think I fixed it. I didn't. Because it came back later in the next heat of the day. At night, it's great, but I adjusted the timing without a timing light. Not really advisable, but the gap here on the back where the cam angle sensor is, see that long bolt there? Okay, and now look down here where the light is. Boom, that gap. I, made it a little bit longer, which was essentially retarding the timing. And I didn't really know where to set it without an actual timing light. So we ordered one on Amazon and it's here. Now let's take a look at the marks on the pulley for the crankshaft down there. There's our little guy. Okay, little guy, what do you got to tell me? Well, these marks are ambiguous at best. Oh, I'm so glad you can tell on the camera. The one on the right is white, the one on the left is yellow. With my bare naked eye, I can barely discern that the left mark is yellow. So, everything I'm reading says that the mark colors should be opposite based on other people's experience with these. That left one looks like there's even a third mark, but that's rubbish. We don't have to worry about that. So, the right mark, it really doesn't matter, I guess, which color they are relative to each other, because all I'm reading online is one's white and one's yellow. The white one's supposed to be -10, and the yellow one's supposed to be top dead center. Except they're backwards here. Okay, we gotta let this engine warm up, and then we're gonna go inside here with the diagnostic port, ground off the ECU so that we're not mixing up our signals. Inside of here, we're gonna get a jumper clip, and I'll show you which two terminals to jump so that we can take the ECU out of the idle loop, adjust our idle, using the tachometer or the timing light, depending on how advanced your timing light is. We want it right at 850, and then we're going to set our timing from the back there. There's a blue connector here, which you'll pop off this half of it, and it's a perfect spot to get 12 volts for your timing light. There's the number one spark plug wire. In the back there, at the cam angle sensor, the long bolt is the one you want to loosen. Right there, that guy. That's the one you want to loosen. That allows you to rotate the whole cam angle sensor. And then I just use the ground here on the engine bracket. Get the engine warmed up, open up your diagnostic cover. looking at this picture, bridge 10, which is on the upper right in white, with ground, which is on the far left middle. So, boom to bada boom. Right. You bridge that while the engine's running and fully warmed up. You take the timing light, you shine it on the crank, and then you loosen that and adjust it. And been learning a lot about these Miatas lately in ignition timing. Everybody says set it at 10. That's what the factory had. It was a really good amount to keep it from pre-detonating. And that's on 87 octane or maybe 86. People are saying you don't really need to mess with the octane too much. Go with a higher octane if you're getting pre-detonation, especially if you live in hot climates. If you're out there in the Palm Springs desert where it's 110 degree heat in the summer and your car's breathing in 110 degrees, you don't want to be at 14 degrees. That's too advanced. You're going to start getting pre-detonation. You want to be at 12 for those hot climates, or just keep it at 10. And if you live in colder climates, have fun at 14. Just keep an ear out for detonation. It's like that rattling marble sound. Good on me for getting a 1995 model year that's got the 2 marks, and everybody else gets 1 very simple, very clear mark. The one on the right is white, and the one on the left is yellow. What I've read online is that the one on the right should be yellow. Interesting. Well, if you look down there, we've got a little guide that's got our numbers, and it tells us exactly where our timing is going to be. So I'm going to pull number 1 spark plug, and I'm going to get some chopsticks, and we're going to see exactly which one of those 2 marks is true top dead center, because you don't want to be adjusting it incorrectly. If I went with the left mark and put it at 10 degrees and it was the right mark that was the true top dead center, I would be running 0 degrees. If I did the right mark and I treated that like it was true top dead center, and I timed this thing at 10 degrees before top dead center on the thingamajig, the little indicator there, the plastic tab that tells you where you're at, I could be running 20 degrees. These things will run 20 degrees advanced. Oh, it'll knock, it'll ping, and that's what I think I'm dealing with right now. It's possible I'm just on the wrong timing mark. So I've got my little clip in there where I'm jumping 10 in ground, and I rotated it, as if either mark was correct, and it seemed to be okay both times, but you don't get a load at idle. You can rev the engine at idle. You can rev the engine in neutral. You're not going to get much of a load. You'll get just a fraction of a second of the pinging, and I don't want to take it on the road and just kind of guesstimate. So I'd rather just figure out which mark is correct, pull number 1. One more note is that you have to adjust these. You have to double the number because the Miata does a double pulse on the spark, which means the RPM on this gauge is reading twice as high as what it really is. So right now it's at 50? All right, it's right around 850. That's what we want. Furthermore, it seems this is correct timing when the right mark is at 0 and the left mark is at -10. Finally got the answer online. All right. That's weird that these have 2 marks, but all the later years seem to do that. At least at the NB. It seems like all the NBs are the same way too, but this is the 95, so have fun with that. And we're gonna go for a test drive, see how zippy it is. I learned some very interesting things about timing these cars in the last 24, 36 hours. Basically, it wants to be right at, peak horsepower in the Miata should be right at 5,000 RPM, and I was experiencing power way earlier because of course the ignition was advanced. So now I can have it right at 5,000 and I'm not lugging the engine. The issue was I was getting pre-detonation because of that really, really advanced ignition timing. I was running just about 20 degrees advanced. I got rid of pre-detonation by adjusting the timing, and here's how I did it. How I figured all this stuff out. Factory power on a Miata is at 5,000 in terms of peak horsepower. It's right around 5,000 RPM. As you advance the ignition timing, a lot of people say, ooh, it's a lot more fun on the street because you're allowing it to take this curve and lower it just a little bit. So when you're in those street ranges between, let's say, 2,500 to 4,500, where we're kind of between shifts, that's a lot of fun and you feel it a little bit better. So it's a little faster off the line. So what, these engines, they love to rev and they will be happy to do it all the time. So having mine at 20 degrees advanced because I was using the wrong timing mark was bringing all this power at the beginning, and then it was going, oh wait, we don't have enough time for the complete combustion cycle, plus it's happening a lot sooner, which means we're having detonation almost all of this. Easiest way to tell if you've got detonation, it's gonna make that weird rattly sound. It sounds like a loose heat shield. It also sounds like somebody's throwing gravel down your exhaust. People have described it as marbles in a bag or nails in a can. My favorite description is just calling it a rattle. It sounds like a rattle. And old-timey carburetor guys know exactly what that is because they dealt with it as gasoline in America was going from leaded to unleaded, and then we have to put additives in all the old cars. Or if you're doing engine rebuilds and you're finding out that those soft valve seats from back in the day weren't really holding up to unleaded gasoline as much. The solution to that, of course, is put in a higher octane, but no amount of octane, at least nothing you could find at the pumps here, would have taken care of the problem that I had with it being so much. So here we go. Right now it's a little slow, and then once it gets here, we start getting a good amount of torque, and then as it works its way up, peak horsepower. You hear that whistle? Only during load. If I rev it up slowly, you don't get that. Sounds like I got a loose something or a bearing problem there, but you know, that's another issue for another time. I'm happy with the way it runs right now because we're kind of back to stock power. Now, I don't live in 104-degree heat. I'm not in the Palm Springs desert. I can essentially turn the ignition timing to 14 and play around with it a little bit, especially in the winter as we get cooler air in the engine. Remember, higher octane gas burns slower, so it's allowing that combustion cycle to happen a little sooner as well, and play around with that and see what you like. Just have a very good ear for pinging and detonation. But I don't want to say that I was an easy driver on the car. I was definitely hard on it, especially with the coils, the new coil springs, and the beefy sway bars. It was fun to romp on this thing, especially in the corners, because it really feels fast as you're keeping speed in the corners. Did I cause any permanent engine damage with the 3,000 potentially miles that I had pinging? I hope not. And I've been putting premium gas in it because it's cheap where I live. So you may as well do that. Out here in California, you know, I tried to skimp and then I really noticed the detonation issue. Now that we got timing figured out, we're gonna tinker with it, especially as the months go by and they get colder, because now we're in the beginning of October. Thanks for watching. I hope this information was helpful, and correct me where I was wrong in the comments below. I'm always happy to be corrected.